Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to talk about something a little bit different and I'm going to talk about how I got to where I am in the HVAC industry. So I mentioned in one of my previous videos, the future of this channel, nothing's going to change. I'm just going to do a little bit different types of videos, and this is one of those videos. So most of my videos are, informative, educational, basically lunch and learn type videos or presentations that I happen to record. So I'll have like a script, more or less what I want to say that I'll be reading off of. But this one, I've just got a couple bullet points. And kind of the impetus of all of this was I was at my customer's office a few weeks ago, and there was just a handful of new hires, straight out of college. So I typically what I'll do is I'll just go over there with my business card. I'll introduce myself, tell them what I do, and then I'll ask them their name, where they went to school, just kind of get to know them. And then after talking to one of these new hires, something caught me off guard. They asked me, "How did you get to where you are? How did you end up in your position?" I was like, I was caught off guard, one, because I've never been asked that question before. But if you think about it, I've been in this industry for about 20 years now. And, I'm not young, but I'm also not old. So I'm kind of like, halfway through my career. And I've never been asked that question before. So I was kind of caught off guard. And then, two, like I mentioned before, I want to do more of these kind of like, I guess, like professional development type videos. I'm big on listening to podcasts, YouTube videos, reading books that kind of help with, personal improvement or personal professional development. And I find that stuff super helpful. And I wish I had discovered this type of content before. So I'm trying to combine two of my interests, one being the industry that I'm in, my job, my career, HVAC, and personal development, professional development. So let's get into it. So I'm just going off of my notes here. First bullet point was do good work. And, it's very general, but it's also very obvious. Just do good work. So in my role, I'm a sales engineer. I've done both inside and outside sales, but do good work applies to both. What does that mean? Just basically means, be accurate in the information that you give, whether it be presentations that you give, bits of information that you have to pull up. Like a common question that we'll get is, can this piece of equipment fit here? Or can your equipment provide this amount of cooling or heating? How much service clearance do we need? And a lot of that stuff I don't have at the top of my head. Some things I do, but most of it I don't. So do good work to me means knowing where to find that stuff and knowing where to find it quickly, and knowing the correct piece of information, be accurate. I know earlier in my career, there was a lot of pressure to get back to the customer quickly. So if I didn't know the answer, sometimes I would think to myself and convince myself, oh yeah, I saw that before. And I'll kind of talk my way through the answer. It might not be correct. It might be correct, but more often than not, it's not. And I've learned that you generally don't want to do that. I think your customers will respect you more if you say, I don't know, but let me go find out, or I'm not quite sure, let me go confirm with the factory if that's correct. And I feel like the customers will respect you more in that you'll go through the extra effort to confirm the correct answer or the correct response, and that you're not BSing them. I feel like, I'm not saying that this is everybody, but sometimes you will run into people or anybody who might just, kind of like massage the facts and say that, oh yeah, we can do that. When in reality, their equipment may not. So, I generally take the path of, let's be correct, let's be accurate, rather than get them the answer quick, or let's, give like a half truth, or there's a lot of gray area when it comes to sizing this equipment up or pricing stuff up. It's always, in from personal experience, it's just better to be accurate rather than quick. Second bullet point that I have down here is be dependable. What does that mean? It means, it's simple table stakes stuff, but sometimes, I've run into a lot of cases where most people aren't dependable. So replying to emails in a, timely fashion, no one expects you to be sitting there on your phone waiting for the next email to come in and then just replying as soon as you get an email. It's, everyone's got stuff to do, but replying back with at least an acknowledgement to say, I see your email, or I got this, let me go, I'll work on this later today. I've worked with different people or manufacturers where you send a request or you just have a simple question and it'll take days for them to get back to you, or if at all, because sometimes you'll have to reach back out and ask for, like, remind them, like, hey, did you happen to get this? And coming from personal experience, whenever I work with a manufacturer or anybody that takes a long time to get back, it's like you're less likely to want to work with them. And it's, even just like a, hey, I see your email, I'm working on it, goes a long way in your working relationship with whoever it is. So, being dependable, picking up the phone, or something that I do is, if I can't pick up the phone right away and I know someone is calling me from their cell phone, I'll just shoot them a text like, hey, I'm on the phone right now. I will get right back to you as soon as I can. And like, most modern smartphones have a feature where you can just literally push a button and it'll automatically reply with like a pre-filled message that, hey, I'm on the other line, or I can't pick up right now and I'll call you right back. Yeah, just be dependable. It really isn't that hard. Next bullet point, two bullet points that kind of go together, networking and don't burn bridges. If you've been in the HVAC industry for even like a year or a handful of years, you'll either be told or you'll find out for yourself that the industry is very small. So a lot of the people, wasn't obvious to me in the first couple of years of my career. I was inside sales, and the outside people that I supported had accounts, and I built relationships with these people because I would talk with them every day. I'd email them every day, and that was my bubble. But fast forward a couple of years, I moved different companies, I've bounced around. You will cross paths with these people. I mean, everybody in the industry kind of jumps around. Whether you're a consulting engineer, you don't jump from firm to firm. Same thing for contractors. Same thing for me. I've been in sales my entire career. I've worked for distributors. I've worked for rep firms, and then with the manufacturer. And I've run into the same people from years and years ago. And it's kind of the cool thing about the HVAC industry. It's kind of like a fraternity, sorority, whatever you want to call it. It's a group of people who work in the same industry, and we're all have the same kind of goal in mind, is to design comfortable, energy efficient buildings. Whether you're on the sales side or the engineering side or the installer side, we all have the same basic goal. So we all kind of stay in the same industry, and you'll cross paths with these people over and over again. I mean, just one quick story. My first job, I was laid off during the Great Recession, and I could have left that job, and had like, I could have trash talked them. I could have cut ties. I could have bad mouthed them. I could have held grudges, but I didn't. And just because back then I didn't know how small the industry was, but thank God that I didn't leave that job. Aside, the way I left was very amicable, even though it was on the best terms. I stayed in touch with a lot of those people. Fast forward 15 years, 20 years, I'm back in their offices. Now that I work for another rep firm, we sell Magic Air fan coils to U.S. air conditioning distributors and to other people in the California market. Can you imagine if I had left and just like trash talked and bad mouthed everybody, and then fast forward 15, 20 years, I have to go back into their office and say, hey, we're now your Magic Air rep, come by, or, come support us. That would not have flown if I had, just left and left with a bad taste in my mouth. So, don't burn bridges, network. There's ASHRAE local chapters throughout the nation where you get together once a month and everyone networks and meets up with people in the industry and they talk about topics, relevant news, and all that stuff. I personally, I don't have the time for it. I did go to a couple meetings early in my career, but trade shows are a great way to network with people. Um, yeah, it's such a small, tight knit community and industry. It would benefit anybody who wants to stay in this industry to network, to build a good reputation, and to not to burn bridges. No matter, jobs will go bad, but no matter what, like you get a bad job, let's work, pass through it, and then on to the next one. So yeah, network, don't burn bridges. Next bullet point I have, find ways to make yourself stand out or to give yourself an edge. I wish I'd learned this earlier in my career. Some of the ways I'm doing that now is this right here. I'm making YouTube videos, and putting stuff out on LinkedIn. I created an email newsletter, and this is something extra that I'm doing above and beyond my normal everyday duties to give myself an edge, to make myself stand out, to make a personal brand. As much as it's cringy, but in this day and age of social media and LinkedIn, building a personal brand aside from the company that you work for, I think gives yourself an edge. I mentioned before, I've recently leaned into personal development, professional development, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, reading books to give myself an edge. And you might not think that some of these books, then you might think that they're too general, but really you can apply some of the topics and lessons from all these different, pieces of media, whether it be podcasts, videos, or books. You can apply it to your life, your personal life, your professional life, in this case. So yeah, just find ways to make yourself stand out or to give yourself an edge. And then finally, pursue luck. If I had learned this, or if I had heard this when I first started my career, that would have made zero sense to me. So given the experience that I have now, it makes total sense to me. I was listening to a podcast. It's called the Rich Habits Podcast, and they had a guest on. I don't remember the name of the guest, but I will link it down in the description below. And he talked about luck is engineered, which is another way of saying pursue luck. There's different ways of saying this, but the ideas behind it are so true. He said there's 4 types of luck. There's blind luck, luck from motion, luck from preparation, and luck from reputation. Now, the first form of luck is blind luck, which is like, someone winning the lottery. That's completely random, completely out of your control. You just happen to like pick the right numbers and your numbers got picked. That is completely blind luck. But the next 3 you can pursue and you can produce and engineer. Luck from motion. The more action you take, the more opportunities you get. And being in this industry, at least on this side, my side of the industry, being in sales, the more action you take, the more opportunities will arise and the more opportunities that you will get. So the easiest example of this is going out to your customers' offices and just creating motion, creating interactions. I love working from home. I love, the hybrid, remote setup that I have, but nothing creates more opportunities than being in your customer's office or being out in the field at a trade show or at an ASHRAE meeting or at your customer's office doing a lunch and learn. Just that social interaction will create opportunities. I can't even count how many times where I've just been in, once a week I go to my customer's office and I work out of there. They know I'm going to be there. They save their questions for me, and I save any questions that I have on projects or for certain salespeople. I save them when I go to their offices. And more often than not, even though I am going there, it's like my daily, or sorry, it's my weekly routine. I will have a chance encounter with somebody, or I'll bump into somebody I haven't seen in a while, or I'll run into somebody and they see me and it reminds them of something. So, come in. Oh, can you come in for a lunch and learn? Oh, I'm glad that you're here. Can you help me with this? And they'll bring up a project that I have not heard before, and it's something that I can add to my, activity sheet that we have to turn into our manufacturers. So, the more action you can take, the more opportunities you get. You might not know what can come up unless you place yourself in that environment. Okay, luck from preparation. When you have deep expertise, you recognize opportunities. And this might not necessarily apply to someone early in their career, but once you build on your expertise or your experience in the industry, you will recognize opportunities that you might not have recognized before. One of the things that we are the Carrier VRF and ductless rep here in California. I've kind of carved out a decent niche in the industry in my career, concentrating on VRF. So I'm always thinking about how we can apply VRF versus, just a simple rooftop or chillers or air handlers. So whenever I hear a customer complain about comfort in a building or energy efficiency or saving money on utilities, you hear these things and you hear it in your everyday life, but once you build a level of expertise, you'll recognize some things that a lot of the pain points that your customers commonly run into, you can apply your solution. As long as you are an expert in it, you know how to address it or sell it to the customer. Once you build up that deep expertise, you start to recognize when those opportunities arise. And some of this stuff like kind of builds on each other. So like, unless you are in the environment or unless you take action and are out in those different those places where you can run into customers and hear those pain points, then you can present your solution for their problem. Or a lot of the times, I deal with this right now is, how do we, there's a lot of changes in our industry right now, especially with the refrigerant changing. And one of our jobs is to educate customers on the changes that are coming. Like there's a lot of things that we have to take into account when it comes to switching over to this new refrigerant. Model numbers change, performance changes, pricing changes. There's changes to the code and how we apply this new equipment. So just being, recognizing that there is this need to educate and inform customers. I take that as an opportunity to do videos like this, to do LinkedIn posts, to throw it out there in the world, and say, and I recognize it as an opportunity to educate customers. And just by putting stuff out there, you might flip the switch, turn the light bulb on for a customer or a potential customer that, hey, this person knows what they're talking about, or let me see what this person has to say about this transition. And you never know, they might reach out to you, or they might do more research and then reach out to you or mention it to their Sigler or Carrier rep, and they'll bring me in and say, hey, can you help me out with this? Do you have a lunch and learn on the A12 transition? And I'll say, yes, actually I do. Let's go set up a lunch and learn. So long-winded way to say, luck from preparation means when you have deep expertise, that you recognize the opportunities and you have the ability to jump on those. And then finally, luck from reputation. When you build a strong personal brand, luck will find you. Now, this is exactly why I'm making this video. This is why I've been doing stuff on LinkedIn and on YouTube, starting an email newsletter. I'm building a personal brand, and it's fun for me. It's something that I can do for fun, but it also helps benefit me professionally. And, this is why I do these videos. I'm building a personal brand. I'm trying to let people know that I myself and we here at Pacific Systems Group, we are the experts when it comes to VRF. Along with myself and our principal, we have decades of experience using VRF and mini splits, and not just through Toshiba Carrier, but I've had different stops along the way. At Daikin, I've worked selling LG, and then had experience at my first job selling Mitsubishi and City Multi. So that's what I have to offer. That's my personal brand, and unless I let people know about it, then nobody knows what I have to offer. So building a strong personal brand, putting yourself out there, luck will find you. Just a real quick story before I finish this video. I had this idea to make YouTube videos, just put it out there to see what happens. We're a very small company. Everyone kind of wears different hats, whether it be sales, marketing, just doing the day-to-day management of, paperwork and stuff. So one of the things I took upon myself was to let's just make videos just because it's fun for me. I get to mess around with camera gear, microphone gear, and I get to upload stuff to YouTube. Shortly after I uploaded one of my first videos, which was like a VRF 101 video, just talking about the basics of VRF, I got an email from someone, a building owner, asking, hey, do you know where I can find someone to help me lay out a Toshiba Carrier VRF system? And call it luck, but this is luck from reputation. It just so happened he reached out to me, and we happen to be the Toshiba Carrier rep here in California. He is a building owner in Santa Barbara. He was having trouble finding somebody who could help him lay out a VRF system. He saw my video, he reached out, and then I put him in touch with somebody over at Sigler, who then put him in touch with a mechanical engineer who could help him design VRF for his building. Once that happened, I told myself, I got to keep doing this. I got to keep posting content, no matter how hard it is, because trust me, it is hard. I have my day-to-day, I have a family. I try to carve out time to make these videos, but I know that this content can make a difference. And, I've gotten comments from people all over, wherever I run into people, and, cause everything that I make here, I post to LinkedIn, and I put it out. I've got a decent following on LinkedIn, and, I'll hear comments from people, and it's scary because I'll have met them for the first time, and they'll say, I like your videos, or I saw your video on this. And it's so scary, but it's also so gratifying to know that the stuff is out there, people are seeing it, and it's actually good stuff, I hope, at least according to them. So another long-winded way to say luck from reputation. When you build a strong personal brand, luck will find you. Just make whatever it is that you are good at, or whatever it is that you want to project to people, make that all about you and let people know about it, and you'll never know what can come of it. I hope this video helped. I hope some of the ideas in here stick for a young sales engineer out there. I know I would have loved to come across stuff like this when I was young, but YouTube did not exist back then. So if you like this video, share it with somebody who you think would find it useful. If you have any other pieces of advice that has helped you, leave them down in the comments below. If you like this type of video, also let me know down in the comments. But yeah, honestly, really, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. He's a good doggy.